It's officially the Draftmas season. If you don't know what Draftmas is, it's our Christmas because we love the draft here in the Sportsocracy. And if you're watching this video, we know you do too. I'm Jeremy Green of ESPN Radio Asheville and the Sportsocracy, and this is the New York Giants 4-round mock draft. If you haven't seen any of the others, check them out in the channel. You'll see a little thing appear over my head here in just a second that'll show you all of them. But I'm taking the PFF mock draft simulator, and I'm running every team in the NFL through it just to see what the thought process could be to give you some prospects to look at for your team as we head to Indiana for the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine 2 weeks from now. New York Giants were already on the clock at number 6. Brock Bowers, 2 of the receivers and 2 of the quarterbacks have gone in front of me. I must admit I would be a little tempted with Jayden Daniels still on the board. I just don't think that's what I'm going to do. I don't know that that's realistic, and I'm trying to keep this as realistic as possible. I think 3 quarterbacks are going in the top 5 with Daniels, May, and Caleb Williams. So in the effort of realism, I'm going to take a receiver that I absolutely love. Malik Nabers is not on the board here, but even if he was, this is still who I would take. It's Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. There's been some knock on him that his contested catch rate's too high at 75%. He's too good against man, and you don't see him do it against zone. The kid had a 3% drop rate, and he was constantly open. Look, I understand he had a fantastic quarterback. I understand the offense was really good. I understand there were 2 receivers on the other side that are going to get drafted pretty highly in this draft. I don't care. I do think the combine is big for him because I'd like to see what he runs. This kid is a stud, and he's going to be a stud. If you don't see it, I can't really help you. I like him better than Nabers. I've always liked him better than Nabers, and it seems like after being at the Senior Bowl, a lot of people are on the same page as me. Big-bodied, 6'3", 215. I think he wins against man. I think he wins against zone. I don't think any of it matters, and this is the number 1 receiver that the Giants have needed for a long, long time. Number 6, Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. Now the simulator will run through. We'll get down to number 39. Now this is an interesting spot for me because I feel like I have a lot of things that I could do. And just looking at where the Giants are at, I do think there is a merit to – I'd love to get Evan Neal into the inside just because he's been so bad on the right. And I think he can play guard. I can't imagine a kid was this good, goes into the NFL, and just forgets how to play football. John Michael Schmitz, to me, is a center. I know some people have taken centers. There's not really one here for me to take that I feel good about. So I'm going to look to slide Evan Neal to the inside. And there just so happens to be a player that I got to see up close and personal at the Senior Bowl. It's Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle out of BYU. This kid is super raw. He played right tackle in 2022. He played left tackle in 2023. He is an absolute BDD, big damn dude. 6'6", 315. He is a little raw, but I think him and Neal almost play so well off of each other because they are both so big that I think it would work. And I know not everybody is as in love with him as I am. The overall grade wasn't that great. Here's the thing. His quarterback has sucked for the last 2 years. And Jaron Hall, I'm not going to get into that again. Did you see him in the NFL? Okay, that's the kid you keep trying to defend to me. He's a really good pass blocker. Wasn't asked to run block as much and didn't do the greatest of jobs. I think he's a kid that will come into the NFL. He will be coached up. It may take a year, but you do have the protection of Evan Neal. So even if you have to take Neal and keep him at right tackle and slide Suamataia into guard, you can do that as well. I think that, A, this gives you the biggest offensive line in the history of the NFL. B, I think this gives you a little bit of play, and now you have done everything possible to really get the best look at what you really have in Daniel Jones. Extra second-round pick, number 47, and the world is your oyster here. There is a guy, and, people are going to say I'm taking him too high, and that's fine. I think you're getting weighed down by what you've seen most recently. I look at the Giants, and I think you have to keep a lot of these things in place, even though Wink Martindale is not there anymore, because you've built this defense to do one specific thing. So unless you're just going to completely overhaul there's at least going to have to be a pretty significant element of what Wink Martindale did. So I hate this linebacker class, and I've been really open and honest about that, but there is one. I know he's got some attitude issues, but right here at number 47, Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker out of Texas A&M. The kid is freak fast. The kid is freak athletic, was unbelievably good in the SEC, and you know what? He may not be the brightest bulb in the lamp, and he said some things he was, I believe, at the Shrine Bowl, and he ducked out of the workouts, and then he said some things that were really off-putting to people. But he's an all-around three-down linebacker that comes in. You can play him right next to Bobby Okereke, and that's a true pro's pro. Maybe he learns from Okereke. I don't know. He should not be on the board at this point, and this is a position of need for the New York Giants, and I will happily take him here. It's Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker out of Texas A&M. Let the server go down to number 70. Oof. Oh, that is tempting. That is tempting to take Jalen McMillan and just double down at receiver. I'm not going to do it. And if you're curious how deep receiver is, just understand 5 of PFF's top 8 rated prospects that are available right here are all wide receivers. Just a thing to know. I may have done this incorrectly, taking Suamataia that early, because Christian Haynes would do a lot of the same thing. I do not believe he will be there at 70. So that's just something to kind of chalk up. If the draft went that way, the Giants would be upset. I just don't think there's a great chance that it's going to. I have so many young players in the secondary, and there's not really anybody that I feel great about right here. So for me, it's between 3, Rook from Clemson, Brandon Dorlus from Oregon, or the guy that I'm going to take, and I just love this kid. I know he's a little undersized. I don't care. He killed people at the Senior Bowl. He killed people at Florida State. At number 70, Brandon Fiske, defensive tackle out of Florida State. Came from Western Michigan. He was a 1-year transfer into Florida State. And if you look, I'm going to move this on the screen so that you can see this. If you look at the game logs, his worst games were against the worst teams. I love seeing that out of college prospects, because that means when the lights are on, which in the NFL they're always on, you're at your best. His highest rated games were in the ACC championship game against Louisville, rivalry game against Florida, Pittsburgh, Duke, Clemson, and LSU. That was the 6 best games on their schedule. That's the best he was, and I love that. I love this kid. I think he would be a phenomenal addition to that Giants defense. Gives you a really good ability to get after the quarterback, and I'm loving what's happening here with the Giants, even if maybe in hindsight there were some things I would have done slightly differently. It's not that differently. Leonard Taylor III, he will not be on the board here, so I'm just going to act like that didn't happen. And there is a guy right here that I'm pretty damn fond of. Saquon Barkley, I believe you're going to bring him back. But if you want there to be a Saquon Barkley to bring back, you're going to have to get him a little bit of help. And a player that I fell in love with at the Senior Bowl, MarShawn Lloyd. Started at South Carolina. He's a little bowling ball, 5'9", 210. I think this takes some of the pressure off Saquon Barkley. He is a do-everything back, kind of like Saquon. The only thing that bothers me there is that you have 2 running backs that do kind of the same thing. Some people see that as a negative. I really don't, because if something happened to Saquon, I think MarShawn Lloyd could slide right in there and be your actual legitimate starter, and there wouldn't be the drop-off in the offense that you had last year. So here with the 4th-round pick, MarShawn Lloyd, running back out of USC. We'll get to the end here. It'll give me a grade. Let's get that on the screen. Yes, before anybody asks, I am my own producer on these, so sorry. We are an ESPN affiliate, but I'm recording this on a Saturday, and, well, nobody but me will work on Saturdays. PFF gives me an A on Rome Odunze, a B on Kingsley Suamataia, a B+ on Edgerrin Cooper, and then a B- on Braden Fiske. Braden Fiske. God, I'm going to learn how to say his name eventually. You'd think a Florida State fan would know that. and a B- on MarShawn Lloyd. That gives us an overall draft grade of B+. I think the Giants would be ecstatic with this. This would be a great start to the first 4 rounds of the draft and gives you a lot of talent in the room to see what you have in Daniel Jones and see if you can be competitive for a playoff spot next year in a really weak NFC. Do you like these picks? Do you hate these picks? Do you just want to call me a big mulleted dipshit Jets fan? Feel free to do all those things in the comments. Ask me about players and how I would like them for the Giants. I answer all of those. And subscribe to the channel so you can see us live in Indianapolis, Indiana, 2 weeks from now at the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine. We're doing 3 ESPN radio shows from there. We're going to be grabbing people on Radio Row. Anybody that'll sit down in our chair, we're going to talk to them. So we're going to have a great time, and it's all yours here in the Sportsocracy.